Trucks Guts.
Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. It's Fred here from Clooney Garage. On today's episode, we're going to show you the top 5 mods between $2,000 and $10,000. Stick with us. Alright, we've decided to make this video on the back of the success of the video we had last week. We showed you all the mods, less than $1,000. And huge success in that video. It went viral. That's all good. But yeah, we just thought we'd step the game up a little bit. Not all the mods you can buy are less than $1,000. In fact, the best bang for buck that you're going to get are these next mods. So we'll take you all through, starting with the cheapest first. So have a look at this, starting now. First mod, forged wheels. Now, why are forged wheels important? Well, if you're going to do any form of motor racing and get some high pressures on these sidewalls, and also open up your choices for semi-slick tyres, then chances are you're going to have to go down to an 18-inch rim. And if you're going to go down to an 18-inch rim, many of these Commodores and the VFs, the factory is 19. So therefore, how do you get down to 18s? You go to a different manufacturer, and that way, these wheels are purpose-built. Many of them are motorsport design wheels, and a couple of advantages there. One is that they're super lightweight. You lose that, so you gain unsprung weight advantage on the corners. And the other thing is that they're super strong. They're actually designed for the pressures and the forces of racing on the track. Unlike our cop wheel special here, and very much unlike some of the standard wheels that you get on standard Commodores. So I've got a video of the Koya Motorsport Race Edition tyres and wheels that we bought for Clooney, our VF race car. And yeah, huge difference. Check out how light they are. Are you ready for the big reveal?
I am.
Have a go at them. They are Koya semi-forged SFO1s, 18 by 10 in the rear. They are very nice. Let's see how... Oh, jeez. Holy dolly. They're light. And they are going to look like a V8 supercar. Okay, so we'll take you through the specs. This little Koya here, this is our front. So he's a 18 by 9 semi-forged motorsport wheel. And in the description below, we're going to share with you all the offsets to clear Brembo VF Redline brakes, because these are custom made to clear our brakes. And as I've been talking about, we've gone down to an 18. So according to Koya, this has got about 1 or 2 millimeters clearance on the Brembos. So I hope they fit. Let's show you the rears. Okay, so on the rear, we've got an 18 by 10, and it's going to fit our 295 Yokohamas. So that's a big rear wheel, Zach, but I tell you what, it's just so, that is just so light. That's going to be awesome on the rear. And everyone's probably seen our big fat Yokohamas as well. And I tell you what, racing around the track with these lightweight wheels and our sticky tyres, we're not going to know ourselves. Okay, step number 2, or our second modification we recommend, is going and getting some decent coilovers, particularly ones that are not at the low end of the price spectrum, because you get what you pay for. So we've gone for some BC Racing custom coilovers, and these are not their base model, these are the ER series, and they come with an external reservoir as well, and they're pretty well made. These were from Taiwan, but all Japanese componentry. So super heavy duty rate springs, and some pretty serious dampening as well. Really good construction, and with that external reservoir, braided lines as well. Now, when you're selecting coilovers for a Commodore, a couple of things to watch out for. You can get the max peating rods and the real low entry, Chinese coilovers, $500, maybe $1,000, and they are great if you're going to lower your car and you want it to look great. Sure. If you actually want some performance, you've got to get up in that next price range. Now, we actually think BC Racing is probably the start of where the performance really gets going. And then after that, you can see our videos. We got some MCA Race Red coilovers, and that's seriously getting into the top end of motorsport performance. And but you've got to let your budget go, where you can afford. So $2,200 will get you something like that. And 3.5 upwards will get you the MCAs. So again, at the bottom end of our sort of mod budget here, the 2 to 10K. But yeah, a huge improvement, better brake, load under braking, better mechanical grip, less body roll, and to really make the piece de resistance, get your sway bars and get your linkages, tie the whole unit together, and then maybe you'll be able to howl around a racetrack like these GT4s at Wakefield. Go get some. Mod number 3, start to look at upgrading your diff. The diff is one of the most underrated and unspoken parts of performance in these Commodores. And the reason the diff's so important is that when you start howling around racetracks and loading up around corners and going sideways, you are going to probably seriously do some damage. If you don't have a strong diff, you're probably going to break the original diff. But the biggest thing is actually getting the right gear ratios to get that grunt down to the ground. Now, standard, these Commodores will probably come out with, if it's a manual, a 3-4-5 gear ratio set in the rear, and HSVs come out with 3.7s. So actually, we've upgraded our gear set in the VF Commodore, not this particular Commodore here, to the HSV original gear set. That's in Clooney, and that made a huge difference between the speed in between gears. It hasn't really affected top end speed too much. It just means you've got the right ratios getting through there. It's not revving out to 120 in first gear, for example. So it's quite a good thing. Now, what some people do is go down to like a 411s gears. Now, that's getting pretty close to drag racing territory, and I wouldn't recommend that on a race car. But again, a gear set and the diff center is where it all comes together. So the diff centers that you should really look at, Harrop make a true track. That's, about the 2.5 grand. And then you start stepping up to the wave track. They're the strongest, rated to about 1,500 horsepower. That, together with a gear set, you're going to have a pretty awesome performance in the rear of your car. And of course, when you're replacing your diff and getting your diff gears, the best thing to do around the diff is to fix all the bushes. Have a look at the video and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, step 4, we're getting up to the top of our price range now. And this is where you get a huge bang for buck here. Heads and cam package. Now these are LS1 Cathedral Port heads that I'm using for a demonstration purpose. But the reason you do heads and cam at the same time is they work together. And if you're going to do your cam, invariably you've got to do your valve springs and stuff anyway. So it's best to do a head and cams package together. Now what's involved in a heads package? Typically, you ship your heads off to somewhere like Higgins. They actually do it as a replacement item, but it's all about CNC porting and actually polishing up all the imperfections in the machining you get with your factory cast heads. If you have a look inside the Cathedral inlets here, it's all rough. Similarly, you look like inside of our domes here. All this gets polished and ported, and you get your heads to flow a lot better. The other key point also is that you can actually skim the head of the, or the deck of the head also, and increase your compression. Because when I was a young boy growing up, it was about the 3 C's. Cubes, cam, compression. That's where you got all your power. And in these modern LS motors as well, that's not too far from the truth. So when it comes to camshafts are a bit of a personal choice on the sort of application you're going for, but ideally with the more power in your cams, you're looking to increase the duration and getting more fuel into the heads, and actually then really starting to look at the duration of your cam as well. So again, you get big high lift cams that are hard to drive in traffic and all the rest of it, and you've got to make a compromise as you do that. So with your heads and cam, I'll take you over to our motor that we're building here. One of the key things that you should be looking at as well is that you actually don't need to stuff around with your inlet manifold. Those inlet manifolds are actually really good. They flow really well. But it's also time to do some preventative maintenance when you take your heads and actually get your cam done as well. As you can look here, we've cleaned up our deck, getting ready for our new heads. And you can check everything, making sure you don't have any gremlins sitting in there. But the big thing here is you've got to start to get rid of your DOD lifters and also start to look at some other preventative maintenance around your trunnions. Okay, so what do we mean by the DOD delete? You actually have to install a new valley plate that gets rid of all the old DOD crap and the hydraulics that go with that. That's the valley plate that you do normally get with all the AFM hardware. Anyway, you get rid of that piece of equipment. You get a blanking tray or a different valley plate in. And then when you're pulling your lifters out, they're the spring-loaded AFM lifters, and they're the ones that are notorious for failing. These little bits, the springs break in them, and also these rollers have got a good way of chewing off and ruining your cam. When you're doing that as well, with your rockers, have a look at getting a trunnion replacement as well. So we've done a whole episode on the trunnions, and we've used a Brian Tooley replacement kit here. That sort of shows you exactly what we've gone and done about. These needle roller bearings that actually sit in the original rockers, they all fall out, and this new design allows you to rev a heap harder. As you can tell, we've actually used still the standard rocker body, but we've replaced the actual trunnion bearing inside it, and it's got these little circlips that then hold it in. So the reason you do this, that goes with the new cam, means you can rev it till the cows come home and not have a common failure point there. So heads and cam is not only about performance, it's also about getting some serious preventative maintenance into your LS motor that can cope with the big cam and your heads. So costs a lot of money this step. You're probably looking 6,000 plus. So I won't give you an exact breakdown of all of that, but you can do a bit of lookup. It's $2,000 typically just to get your heads reconditioned. And then you've got to buy your actual cam. They can be anywhere, from $600, $700, $800, $1,000. And then you've got to buy your hardware for the DOD replacement, your lifters, get it all dialed in and tune it, of course. So to be honest, you're probably looking anywhere between 6 and 10, depending if you do the work yourself. Okay, final modification, boost. Now, boost has got two varieties, turbocharged or supercharged, and it's up to you, personal choice. I always go with supercharged application, so I've gone through 2 different blowers, and they're positive displacement Harrop items, 2300 and the 2650 that I've now got. But it's a very big choice because you can go a turbocharged path as well, and it's a different route and different experience as well. And it also depends on your application. Is your car a track car like these things here, where it's going to be high revs, consistent revs, long duration around a circuit? Or are you a drag racer? Or, you're going for 7-8 second passes, and therefore just that 1 out power with the turbocharger might be for you. So that's a personal choice. Just got some footage now about to share you with what the blower looks like, and we'll talk a lot more about it in a second. All right, blower technology's come a long way, and with these latest LS motors, a lot of them are the Eaton twin scroll design, not like the old Roots blower that you probably see all those big, methanol charged, burnout machines. These things are very different, super high efficient, particularly when they get used with the right intercoolers and fuel mixtures. So they're worth a heap of power. So you're looking anything with a heads and cam package and a blower. We've got some dyno runs that we've done and shared. You're looking anywhere between that 400, 500, 550 kilowatt range. And that's standard internals, apart from heads and cam. So you don't need forged pistons and all this sort of stuff. You can get some pretty serious power with a bolt-on supercharger with your factory components. So price, 10, 12, upwards. But minimum of 10, particularly if you buy a second-hand unit. So again, not spare change, but pretty serious power output. All right, so that's 5, and you rattle through the 5 pretty quickly. And again, these are from personal experience. I've done all these mods myself on 2 different race cars, a VE and a VF Commodore platform. Now, what I haven't mentioned, E85, new fuel system, interchillers, nitrous. Look, there's more things you can do. These are the things that I've done that I've got huge power gains out of, and what I can speak authoritatively on, because I've been there and I've done it, and we've got other episodes with all the dyno sheets to back up all the things we've been doing. But I tell you what we're most motivated about, and that's getting this built motor into our VE ute, because it actually brings together some of the big components we've just been talking about with the heads, cam, and all our preventative stuff that we've just been talking about. So hope you enjoy this video. It goes on the back of the last video and how successful it was, and hopefully this one's just as successful. Don't do it for Dale, do it for Brocky, and we'll catch you later.